Let's turn now to that breaking news. CBS News has learned the Department of Justice is reviewing classified Obama-Biden records found at a private office once used by Joe Biden after he was vice president. CBS's Adriana Diaz explains.
3 sources tell CBS News the classified documents were discovered in this building about a mile from the White House at the offices of the Penn Biden Center, a foreign policy research institute set up after President Biden left the vice presidency. According to a source familiar with the matter, the classified documents are small in number and were found in November in a box among unclassified material. Sources would not characterize how sensitive the documents are.
Lots going on with President Biden and these top secret documents, classified material found in an office that he held at one particular point. Let's go to a few more of these details though from CBS. So these roughly 10 documents that are from President Biden's vice presidential office at the center, the sources said that's where they found them. CBS News has learned that the FBI is also involved in the US attorney's inquiry over this whole thing. Here's how the White House responded to everything that's going on though, you guys, because you guys can imagine what folks are saying since we heard about this from President Trump. Let's watch more.
Responding to requests from CBS News, the White House counsel said that on November 2nd of last year, before the midterm elections, lawyers for President Biden were cleaning out office space at the center. When they discovered the documents marked classified in a locked closet, they stopped the work and contacted the White House. White House lawyers then reached out to the National Archives, which is responsible for the records. The archives in turn contacted the Department of Justice. Attorney General Merrick Garland then tasked the U.S. Attorney in Chicago, John Lausch, a Trump appointee, with determining what is in the documents and how they arrived at the Penn Biden Center. The FBI is also involved in the preliminary inquiry, which a source says is nearing its conclusion.
So they're investigating now. A quick recap there, because Biden's attorneys found these documents and classified materials in the offices. They were clearing things out, I believe they said late last year in the fall, and then they submitted it directly to the Department of Justice, also the archives offices that have to deal with these things. All those folks that we heard about during the entire Trump thing when they ran up in Mar-a-Lago to look for more of those, which we will get to those details and those differences. But again, we know that there's gonna be this pushback. We know there's gonna be this, well, see, it's all the same. Just like President Trump said, they're all taking documents. That's how these things work. Well, here's a couple of those differences between the two, because of course, people will highlight that as well. Let's watch more.
Sources now confirmed that a lawyer for former President Trump signed a letter in June asserting there was no more classified information stored at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. But when the FBI executed a search warrant on Monday, agents recovered 11 sets of classified documents, with at least one marked as top secret. SCI, which is one of the highest levels of classification. The newly unsealed court documents outline 3 potential crimes that are being investigated. So far, the DOJ has not filed any charges.
So they're cooperating, it's been given to a particular investigator. They're going through the whole things. But as we saw a little bit there with the Trump part, they have the problem that he didn't want to cooperate. So I guess that's the main difference. One more piece, because this former federal prosecutor explained some of these differences between the 2 cases. Because again, this happened back in August with Trump and his residence being raided for the ones that he was holding knowingly and continuously. And this one was given up quickly. Let's watch one more of these.
Former federal prosecutor Scott Frederickson says there are important differences between this Biden inquiry and that involving former President Trump. How significant is it that these documents were self-reported, voluntarily turned over?
I think the self-reporting here is probably the single most important part of this situation. It indicates a lack of intentional conduct. It's completely different from the Mar-a-Lago case, which tends, based on reporting, to indicate there was intentionally activity to take those documents.
So there is a difference as far as the takeaways, but one thought here, Mondale, because as we started this, you said something particular about how it's the gift that keeps on giving. We know the response is gonna happen, but how much will it stick? And actually, is it that different?
I think if we're being honest, the fact that Biden Biden is that gift I was talking about, and he's given to Republicans, not to progressives, definitely not to progressives, and not to Democrats in this case. What happens is Donald Trump and his minions need very little facts to run with something. So the idea that there are classified documents in some office that belongs to or that Biden is using is all they need to let Donald Trump be off the hook in their eyes and in their mind. So what we'll do now is we'll get a Congress that'll spend 2 years investigating not just Joe Biden's his son, but now him too, with these documents. There's a complete difference. If you look at the law, the Espionage Act, all of those laws, it's about intent, criminal intent. Are you trying to get these documents to give to our enemies? Are you trying to keep them? This is a mistake that happened, a silly mistake, but it was a mistake for sure. And the difference is, if you think about it, they raided Trump's house in August. After June, he lied and said he had no more documents. They found documents, and that was after them dealing with him since February, trying to get back. Also, it should be noted that Donald Trump's team did not call the people when they found documents. The people actually realized that boxes and boxes of documents were missing. So there is a difference legally, but politically, I think Biden just gave Donald Trump a home run, and that's tragic. And another reason why I think he should retire.
This is one of those main differences. Actually, I'm glad you pointed out that way. It's not always based off of the facts or the real differences between situations, especially politically, especially lately, politically even more. All they need is one thing to run and go off of. Yes, there's folks on the left of the side of the aisle that also maybe jump and run with something quickly as well too. But it doesn't really make a full movement at times the way that this one does, and that everything that this guy will truth out about turns into like fact for these folks, no matter how wrong it ends up being at the end of the day. So yeah, it's definitely a gift that keeps on giving. There was one more piece here from CNN that I want to show you guys. It's a graphic that's in this particular article, so it's not here, but they did point out these differences. And one of the things that they point out as far as what Trump had, they said 160 plus of those secret ones, 60 top secret ones when Biden's total was under 12. So they're also playing with the numbers. I still think those ones that he had, that Biden has or had, were particularly important. Maybe he'll be answering, he's over on some international trip right now. Maybe he will be answering about it as things roll out, because he's probably trying to get the attention on what he's doing and not what has already happened. But we know those searches are ongoing, and so for some of these investigations will be launched from Congress. Let's make sure you pay attention to that, because that's the purpose for why they wanted to even start this whole thing. American people got us in office to investigate Biden. As I've said before, Mondale, Joe Biden is not my uncle. President Obama is not my uncle. So if there's all kinds of wrongdoing and you want to investigate it, either you look bad or you look great. We'll find out, won't we?
We definitely will. Also, I just want to say it is important that you made a distinction that we should know: the number of documents and also the fact that Donald Trump had nuclear information that he was literally lying about, whereas Biden's, they said there were apparently nothing about the nuclear program in the documents he had. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well.